So you're the main witness that the government tried to use to put Diddy away for life.
Do you know what? The world is against Diddy, so now I'm going to testify that
Right.
way. That guy was purposely lying,
Right.
and I did not see anything to give any indication that she was uncomfortable. Because, and you're telling me because he had risque sexual situations with his girlfriend that they're going to confiscate all that money. So I spoke to multiple guys that were involved in no scenario, and not one of them could corroborate with the abuse and stuff she testified to. You don't mold the truth when you're talking about a man's life. They saw no signs of her being forced, no signs of whatever. Now, this is off the record. My breakdown of why it happened this way was,
So you're the main witness that the government tried to use to put Diddy away for life.
yeah.
You know, before we get into that, let's get into your life, because I know that you grew up in Harlem, and tell me about yourself. Let the audience know who you really are and who you are and what a man you are.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I grew up in Harlem through the 80s, early 90s, crack era, that type of, ordeal, I would say. A lot of violence, a lot of killing, a lot of, let's say, stereotypical lifestyle. Inner city lifestyle. Growing up in it, you don't realize it because it's the norm. But, being away from it as an adult, I realized how toxic and a crazy environment it was. Looking back on it, it was rough out there.
But it must have given you a good education to carry yourself through life, right? Seeing all that stuff and knowing how to maneuver and deal with people in life.
Yeah, man, I'm grateful for it. I would not want to be, what do they say, a person without the street smarts, right?
Exactly.
The street smarts and the understanding of, forget everything else, like your integrity and how you carry yourself as a man, especially in the streets, through life or whatever, that translates everywhere.
Sure.
You can garner a certain respect and credibility through those life lessons of just how to maneuver in those atmospheres. I definitely wouldn't want to live in this life without not understanding how to maneuver through the violence and the threats that the world presents, because it's a rough world we live in.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's a dog-eat-dog world, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But I'm so glad that you came on. I appreciate you coming on. So let's get into the Diddy trial. You were the main witness that they wanted to use against Diddy to try to give him life or many years in prison, if you will. And they try to coerce you into saying things that weren't true. Am I correct?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, this was my first time being involved in any type of case, testifying scenario to this magnitude, right? Especially something that had nothing really to do with me, per se, as being either a party in the case and with charges and stuff. So it started out very kind of like relaxed, which was odd to me, to the point where I didn't think I was testifying, where it was like, we just want you to come in, hear what you have to say, and go about it that way. But what I noticed, especially looking back, was my testimony or my details were trying to be steered. And how I realized that is, so let's say my first interview, I'll come in and I'll be very standard. Hey, look, this is what happened. I did not see any force, or she didn't seem, uncomfortable or anything like that. And the interview will stop there. And then they'll say, was there anything you saw that was odd? And I said, well, okay, there was scenarios where she seemed frustrated. And frustrated would be because we're having sexual activity and he's giving directions. Hey, move the candle to the left, move the candle to the right. Yeah, he's giving directions. And if you think about it, if you're in an intimate scenario and somebody's kind of calling time out, saying move the candle and stuff like that, it kind of disturbs your flow. So I would see actions that look like frustration, where she'll go, and so I explained that. And I said, well, she would sigh at the directions. And then that interview would stop. Then they'll have me come back a week later and the conversation would go to, well, take us back to where you said she was frustrated and she would sigh and wince. And I'm like, wait, I don't think I ever said wince. That's not my, and so I'm somebody that I'm very focused on my vocabulary. And I didn't even know, I remember leaving the meeting and I had to Google.
Little trickery there, if you will.
Yeah, I had to Google what wince meant, right? And so when I Google wince and I see it's discomfort from pain or whatever, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. But if I'm being very transparent, like I wanted to testify. I wanted to testify. There's a part of me that's, being honest, whatever the case may be, of I understand how high profile this case is.
Sure.
I grew up through the OJ trial, so
it was pretty high profile, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, look, I'm gonna be a part of this. And so the opportunity to be involved was something that I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay the course. So what I did, in all honesty, was, all right, I don't remember if I said wince. I don't, there was put out there, but I'm gonna make sure I clarify what I mean. And, I worry now to this day if the government's upset at me because I testified completely differently than they coached me.
Well, they were trying to put words in your mouth, plain and simple, just so they could get a stronger case against him. And you know what? You had the integrity not to do that for the government, not to abide by them and say what they want you to say, because you weren't a puppet for the government. You were not a puppet for the government. You were a man. You did the integrity thing, and you told the truth. And by you doing that, I believe that you helped him not get all those years in prison by your testimony.
Yeah, man. I looking back at it and seeing the totality of the case, I do acknowledge that I'm probably the key witness that helped him get acquitted. It was even said, one of his attorneys was being interviewed on Piers Morgan, and he asked her directly, how does she feel about the testimony of the guy they call the Punisher? And because Piers Morgan feels that it was my testimony that helped the defense and helped his trial, and his attorney adamantly said, I agree. I'm glad I don't know why the government put him up there, but I'm glad they did. What he said was powerful,
because you helped
cleared everything up.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
I was watching the trial myself and paying attention, and you definitely helped him. You helped him from not getting a lot of time in prison, that's for sure, by telling the truth. By not fabricating anything that the government wanted you to fabricate, or say any extra words that they wanted to put in your mouth so they could hurt him even more. I'm not, not for nothing. I mean, that's not my shtick and the stuff he wanted to do. I mean, look they called you the Punisher, and they do call you the Punisher, and not for I know it's for other reasons. I know you're great in the basketball court. Let's put it that way.
Well, listen, man. I tried to live up to it in other things, so I'm gonna take it, right? I'm gonna take the title because it's not a bad nickname.
No. I kind of like that nickname myself, being a Punisher, but towards rats, that is. But that's another story. But yeah, I mean, the government, they can be really, really dirty. They really can. And people don't realize how dirty the government can be in trying to convict people.
Yeah. So what the strategy was with me was actually for me to say less. So basically what they wanted to say was, when you were there, because it went from the focus from her being her sighing to frustration was when I'm on the stand, there was times you've seen her wince. And so I'm coached to just say yes. And now that can be spun whatever way you want to, but I went out of my way to say, all right, if wince is a question you're asking me, and in notes, if I already might had agreed to that, I made it clear on the stand that yes, 2 directions. If I seen that it was 2 directions, right. And I did not see anything to give any indication that she was uncomfortable, because it just needed to be clear. I didn't want my words to be twisted.
Thank God he had you up there testifying, because you helped him.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
seriously, because I think if you weren't there testifying, he might have been in trouble.
Yeah, and another thing that I noticed after the fact, which really kind of made me upset, was there was another escort guy that testified, Daniel Phillips, and being contacted by him afterwards and stuff. It was like that guy was purposely lying, trying to get him compromised in the case, and I could not believe that another man would go up there. Look, if it's your duty to testify, you testify, but you don't mold the truth when you're talking about a man's life.
Sure.
And knowing firsthand that this guy was kind of, working with the government in terms of twisting the narrative. And I'm glad his defense attorneys pointed it out, because in his interview leading up to testifying, he did see physical violence. But he said in his interviews after the physical violence, Diddy came out and said, listen, you got to leave. This is not happening today. But on the stand, he says Diddy comes out and then tries to force him to have sex, which then when I meet him after the fact, he says what he said prior. Yeah, he told me to get out. So then why would you say on the stand, he tried to force me to have sex? And there's somebody getting caught up in his own admiration.
Right.
I'm like, do you know what? The world is against Diddy, so now I'm going to testify that way if it makes him look good.
But yet, it was consensual what he was doing. He agreed to it. Am I correct?
He did.
And he got paid for it.
It was consensual. He agreed to it. And so I know of the guy prior to even meeting him, because we worked in the same place. And after my involvement, people told me, hey, there's a guy that Dan was involved. And I'm close with one of his best friends, and for years he never said any force he feared for his life, none of these things. And then you jump on the stand, and now you're thinking you're gonna get it's wow. Like, man, I just don't understand.
Let me
why
ask you
would do
this:
something like
if
that.
he was doing that, was there a reason why he was doing that? Was it because the government had something over his head that was holding something over his head?
Absolutely not. What his incentive was even, like, I was honest to saying, hey, look, I want to testify because this is life-changing, right? When you're involved in something like this, it is kind of like, who lives that life? And I think he had a similar perspective, but this guy came out with like a R&B song, the Baby All song, and this, that, and other. And I think he just wanted to be accepted. I think he thought it was an incentive to testify negatively that would put him in a good light. And then he wanted to kind of ride that wave. But you're riding that wave at the expense of putting a guy in jail.
In prison.
For the rest of his life. And forget just the prison part. It's a RICO case. They confiscate your assets.
Oh, yeah.
So you're telling me this man is going to make all his money. We know he made his money off of music, clothing, and alcohol. And you're telling me because he had risque sexual situations with his girlfriend that they're going to confiscate all that money based on that, and you're contributing to that.
On something that was consensual.
Listen.
Consensual.
Listen, all I know is coming out of the case, for some reason, there was this male escort, like, they wanted to start like almost like a group chat, right? Where everybody wanted to speak, like we're just bonded, right? Because we were all involved. So I spoke to multiple guys that were involved in no scenario, and not one of them could corroborate with the abuse and stuff she testified to. None of them. All of them seemed like she was enjoying herself. They saw no signs of her being forced, no signs of whatever. Now, this is off the record, because there's this thing that, people in the comments, people want to say, well, of course they're not going to say they saw anything non-consensual, because then we're complicit, right? And whatever. But now I'm talking about these conversations are completely off the record, and no guy said they saw anything. Why
do you think that she went so far to say all that? Was she looking for money? What was her purpose? And I mean,
so my breakdown of why it happened this way was she never wanted a criminal case. So I'm somebody who, I wrote a book. You wrote a book, right? So you.
By the way, tell the audience your book that you wrote. I love the title, by the way. I love the title. I want you to say the title.
We're gonna shift gears, but real quick. Okay, so I wrote a book called "In Search of Freezer Meat." Now I know the title sounds crazy.
In Search of Freezer Meat.
Freezer meat, right?
Okay.
So it's to sum it up, and you'll get the point why I call it freezer meat, right? It's a book about as men, me being a quote unquote escort, as men age, obviously we can go through the issues with erectile dysfunction and, your band part's not working the way you want to. So obviously when you have an erectile dysfunction, that's soft meat, right? If you want it hard, what's harder than freezer meat, right? So the book,
it doesn't get any harder than that, brother.
Ain't nothing harder than freezer meat, right? So the book really just entails how I started developing erectile dysfunction as a male escort. Them two don't go together, right? And then how I eventually solved it through a whole bunch of different actions. And I take you through my life story of getting it, correcting it, and then moving forward. But it's comedic, it's funny, and it gives you some real good information.
So make sure you buy the book and read the book, Freezer Meat.
Yeah, In Search of Freezer Meat.
In Search of Freezer
I
Meat.
guarantee you, man, it's a great read.
Go.
You'll enjoy it. You'll get some nuggets that is worthwhile. Now back to why I think Cassie did what she did. You can't just write a tell-all book about somebody just because that's invasion of privacy, it's defamation. It could all be true, but you just can't do it because you're putting their public space out there.
Sure.
But if you file a complaint with all the details in the complaint, it's public record now. And now you can release your book. And what people are not realizing is prior to any of this, she was sending him lawyers through an attorney, basically extorting him, saying, if you don't pay me, I'm going to release this book. So he paid her, right? He paid her $20 million to, I guess she signed the NDAs, but NDAs are void when it's a criminal case. So the NDA was void. So
she was looking for more money.
No, I don't think she was looking for more money. What happens is, and we've seen this with a lot of professional athletes and entertainers and stuff. Once there's a allegation of, rape or sexual assault or whatever, law enforcement has to do their due diligence to investigate.
Sure.
So we've seen it, like, for example, with the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, right? He had all these legal things.
Rightfully so. I mean, if somebody's raped or, molested, they have to. They have to rightfully
do their due diligence. So the opposite example of that is the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. He got hundreds of allegations, but when they went through it from a criminal scenario, they didn't see anything criminal. So it stayed civil. In Cassie's case, she filed a civil suit. She never filed a criminal suit. She filed a civil suit, but somebody went through the allegations and decided, oh, this is a criminal action. And I think it was just somebody trying to make a career.
A name for themselves.
A career. Somebody trying to make a career.
Trying to put a feather in their hat, use him as a feather in their hat to climb up the ladder in the
because if you think about
the justice system.
Exactly. So if you think about it from Cassie's perspective, there's no benefit for it to go criminal. She was already paid. She got $20 million from him, $10 million from the hotel. She's sitting on $30 million. But when the government decides, or whoever,
$10 million from the hotel when she got beat up.
$10 million from the hotel, 20 from him.
That was a big fine for him. $10 million. He probably shouldn't have put his hands on it in the first place, but
but the 10 didn't come from him.
Oh,
the 10 came from the hotel.
Oh, from
itself.
the hotel.
The hotel.
Oh,
20 from him.
I didn't know that.
10 straight from the hotel. Yeah, 10 straight from the hotel. So she's sitting on 30 million, but to me, it's like when the government decides, okay, look, this is a Mann Act, this is prostitution, this is possible RICO. Now she becomes a co-conspirator, but it's one of those immunity if you testify.
Oh, so now I get the picture. So she didn't testify. She could have been a
co-conspirator.
A co-conspirator to it and charged herself.
Yes, of course he's a co-conspirator. Because look, he's actually convicted.
Yes, now I get it. Now I get it. Because I'm saying, why would she do this?
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
She would have been a co-conspirator. She would have been charged too, and she said, fuck that. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, man.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, look, and she just settled out for $30 million. Like, she's not trying to get in any legal trouble. It's whatever you want. It's if now I'm a victim, then so be it.
But I don't think they would have had a case if she didn't say a word either.
Oh, absolutely not.
I don't think she would have had a case. They wouldn't have had a case. She could have told him to go fuck yourself.
She could have.
She could have said that, and they would have had nothing. What kind of charges you gonna bring then, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still would have had the Mann Act, because the Mann Act is very simple. There was receipts and stuff where he paid for plane tickets and stuff for male sex workers. I wasn't even involved in that because I only saw him in state, and that's the stupidest thing about it to me, right? If all of this stuff happens, but it's just travel in state, there's no charge.
Yeah.
But because you cross the state
line,
now but think about that, man. It's not a crime, and it's just stupid, man. It's just stupid for somebody to be serving multiple years,
right,
over something that happens every day,
right. And you hit the nail on the head there, and I'd like to indulge more in that. This type of sexual acts and behavior, it isn't something that's not like prevalent. There's a lot of people that do this
every day, man.
Every day.
Yeah,
every day. There's a lot of swingers out there and everything else, and all that shit. I mean, for me, it's shit because it's not my shtick. But whatever floats your boat, that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as you're not hurting anybody.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And that's what me. Being a male stripper / escort and running a male strip club for 30 years. Listen, my phone rings every day with a guy wanting to hire a guy for his lady. Every day.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's pretty prevalent.
Couples show up to the club every weekend. This is how people enjoy their sex life, and if it's adults and it's consenting, who cares if it happened across town or across state lines? It's like turning this into
I wonder what
nuts.
the psychology is behind that for people that would want to see their wife get punished, if you will, right? By another man. I mean, think about that.
I got a theory on it, man, and it comes from different places, right? So most of the guys that I see that want to indulge in this hiring a guy, right, is usually a dynamic of an older guy with a younger woman. So you take a guy and he's 40 years old, right? And he meets a 27-year-old woman, right? Now, 15 years from now, she's 42. And if you know biology, women are at the height of their sexual wants.
Sure.
In their late 30s, early 40s. But this guy is pushing 55, 56 years old, and he's slowing down. And if you're going through like stuff in my book with the erectile dysfunction and maybe high blood pressure, diabetes or whatever, you can't perform up to your level.
Sure, you're not a spring chicken anymore.
Exactly. So I've had guys say to me, listen, the reason why you're here is because if I can't make it happen in the bedroom anymore, and rather than send my wife out on her own and say, hey, look, I'm going to turn a blind eye, do what you got to do, get your rocks off, that exposes me to her meeting a guy, and he goes, well, why don't you divorce him, leave him, be with me, whatever.
This way he can control the situation.
This way he can control the situations.
Got it.
Well, most scenario guys say, look, I'd rather pay you to be here under my control, make sure she gets her satisfaction, than end up in divorce court where now she's with you, spending my money on your vacation, on your trip, you buying a G-Wagon, you riding in the G-Wagon that I'm flipping the bill for. And a lot of guys do this to control the narrative. And then, obviously you have your just guys that are just freaks and they just get off on the
like Diddy.
Of it. Yeah, I think
there was let's call it like it is.
Yeah,
let's call it a ball. It's a ball. It's a ball. If it's a strike, it's a strike, right? I mean, who wants to sit in a corner and direct another man punish his girl? I mean, it's fun for you because you going with it against a woman, right?
Yeah.
Sexually. Well, so but for him to sit back and he's directing you, and meanwhile, I'm sure he's wanking himself, right?
Yeah.
He's pulling hard, right? I mean,
but look, man, I'm gonna give you some pushback, man. I'm gonna do right.
All right, go ahead.
Do you watch porn?
No.
See, you're a different guy, but a gazillion guys watch porn.
Yes.
Right. So think about it, right? If somebody can sit and on their phone and watch a guy screwing a girl and get off on that, right? What if you could take that same guy and girl and put them right in front of you? He's watching live porn.
I get that. I get that. I get that part. But your girlfriend or your wife?
But
I don't get that
But
part.
so here's the thing, right? And people overlook this part of it, right? I don't think so. Diddy had his mother of his kids, that connection, and she wasn't involved in none of that. So I think, even though I think over the many years, he probably developed an attachment and some caring scenarios for her, I don't think she ever was looked at as my wife, as my lady. It was a title that comes along with longevity, but it seems like he would recruit these specific women that was just a part of that fetish, and they did not have
satisfied his appetite.
Satisfied that he did not present to the women that mothered his children.
Right.
The women.
Well, now this makes more sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad we get.
I think people miss that distinctive. He wasn't doing this with.
Right.
So it was clearly categories, right? You're for wife and kids, and you're for fun.
But they say, and I don't know if it come out in court, which I think it did, where was he touching other men too?
So there was never any testimony about him
touching other men.
Touching other men. No, I think the part you're referring to is what she spoke on, where and I was a part of this experience. Whenever I would deal with her sexually, there was a specific way they wanted me to finish, right? And so I would finish my I don't know what words works on your platform.
No,
but
go ahead. Go for it.
Me coming of my ejaculate, I was supposed to shoot it all around the outside of her vagina, right? And
his P. Diddy's request.
Well, her request, because I never said a word to
okay.
P. Diddy. And listen, in 2.5 years, we never even had eye contact. No conversation, no nothing. He was always across the room in a corner. But it was told to me and it was always, every single time we had to conclude. And so what I noticed what was odd was the minute I would finish, she would pop up and leave the room and he would follow her, right? So I never knew. They would go in a separate room. She would come back after, pay me, and that was it. But she testified that in those scenarios, because it was other guys that got the same instructions, that at times she would go in the back room and she would take it off of her and rub it on his nipples. Now that's, your face.
What? Say that again, brother. No, serious. Say that again.
I hope they had a close-up of your face. Okay, so I'll repeat it. They said she would leave the room with the ejaculate on her. Yeah. And then she testified that at times she would take that ejaculate and then rub it on his nipples.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. That's a deep one.
Listen, I know she was fabricating a lot up there, so I don't know if, we don't know if that's true,
I never seen anything like that or whatever.
Because,
this is what she testified to.
Because
and that went kind of viral.
That's extremely strange to me. Extremely strange, to say the least. So, but for if he actually did that.
Yeah, if he allegedly,
if he actually did that.
Yeah,
because I ain't planting something like that on any man that you don't know. You know what I mean? Because that's a bad thing to do.
Listen, bro, I'm not touching another dude's underwear out the laundry. That's how serious it is. I'm not. It's
me
not
and you
happening.
both, brother.
Yeah.
And that's one thing why I don't like watching porn, because I don't want to see another man's junk.
I hear you.
I don't want to see any other man's junk.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever seen any other man's junk is if we were in the gym training and going in the shower area in the gym or something like that.
That's peripheral. You're still trying to like.
Exactly. You're still like this. Or when you go in the piss house, you're looking down. You won't even look to the side. And then you see these dudes, they're looking to the side on you going like, why are you looking over at me?
Yeah, please, bro. Eyes forward, man. Eyes forward, dude.
Stay forward, brother. Exactly.
Yeah. So allegedly, and I even got a theory behind that, man, because you know how you have these the BDSM sadist the masochist stuff, right? You have this fetish where you have these super powerful and controlled guys, and they'll have a fetish where they'll go in a room and then they'll be dominated, right? And they'll let women piss on them and take a crap on them and all this stuff like
Dominatrix.
that. Dominatrix type of stuff. So I even looked at the scenario.
Pinch your nipples, shit like that, right?
So I almost even looked at
hitting them, spanking them.
Exactly. So what Diddy does with his girlfriends and these other guys is considered something called cuckolding, right?
Oh, what?
It's called the cuckold, right? That's what it's
I've heard of this.
called.
Yes. I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard about it. So fill me in a little more.
Yeah. So basically, anytime a guy openly lets other men sleep with his woman, really not even openly. If your woman is sleeping with another man on your watch, you are automatically a cuckold. That's just that's where it originally came from. And the guys that do it willingly, unknowingly, it's almost a scenario of, it's kind of demeaning, right? Like, as a man, you don't want nobody with your woman. So if you're accepting it,
I'm totally old school, brother. I'm old school like that. I don't flow that way, brother.
Look, bro.
That's why it's tough for me to understand someone else doing that. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there saying, "Yeah, I'm like that too." But then there are a lot of other people going, "Why? What's wrong with that? I do it, right?"
Yeah. Look, to each your own,
Yeah.
right? But what I would say is the cuckolding environment is one of it's kind of like a man putting himself in a demeaning scenario. And as I spoke to, there's a kink that's associated with a guy letting himself being demeaned and belittled. And I almost think, my opinion, I can't confirm it, but I feel like that was a part of Diddy's fetish, right? So,
right.
So you got this guy sleeping with my girlfriend, and then after it's over, if this allegedly happened, she's taking it and rubbing this stuff on or whatever. And I saw that as more of a demeaning thing than a gay thing. Because let's face it, if the guy wanted gay activity, then he could have got gay activity, right? But to me, your woman taking it and rubbing it on you, your woman, that's more of a kink fetish where you want to be demeaned. So
there's some suggestions of that, if you will, with him from hearsay, if you will, him maybe touching another man or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, because obviously I wasn't there, but he never come at you like that, obviously, right?
Yeah, no, man. And again, I like I said, with my speaking of even with other guys, right? They never had a scenario where they felt he was making an advance at them.
None of the other guys, none of the other escorts or strippers or dancers, exotic dancers, none of them that he ever had that worked for him, right? Come in consensually. None of them ever said that they actually had some action with him.
None that I spoke to and none that I heard. Like, I kind of followed or whatever, and nobody overtly said that there was advances or anything associated with him. So when I hear that, I'm going to say, okay, I can't sit back and say a guy who's hiring, right? It's so easy to hire a bisexual guy that would have interacted with both. So if he's hiring straight guys just for the action with his girlfriend, then it's hard for me to say, okay, the guy's gay. Not saying he's not,
right.
But I just never seen or heard of anything that would overtly confirm that.
And how many of these guys that actually that you knew come in and testified?
Only 2 of us testified, but quite a few of them did, like 3 of them with the other girlfriend. So 3 of them, 2 with Cassie, 1 with the other girlfriend. And aside for those 3, I might have seen interviews or communicated with another 4 guys. So that's at least 7 guys.
7 guys, and not one of them ever said, yeah, Diddy wanted me to touch him too, or he wanted to touch me.
Not one
of them.
One of the guys was over a course of 8 years, multiple encounters.
Because you know the new joke is like, when a man
Diddy.
comes up there, don't Diddy me. You know what I mean? Don't Diddy me. Don't Diddy me.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bad label to have.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
a bad label.
That's
man.
a bad label to have.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so I'm glad that we're having this conversation because you're opening up a lot of hearsay and telling the truth about it. And no matter who you are, nobody should be labeled something that they didn't do.
Yeah, no, that's it, man. I mean, when you really look back at the details of the case that was emphasized on the prosecution's questioning and testimony or whatever, a lot of it was just unnecessary, like, smear campaign. Like even what Diddy's defense said, it's so much view into his bedroom and the details, which is just not criminal.
And then he had, did it come out in the trial about his parties?
No, that's the funniest thing about it. Leading up to the trial,
why didn't they mention the parties? Because obviously he had parties.
Well, the only thing you have to say is there's no mention of the parties because when they did the due diligence, there was no criminal activity.
Was there any sexual activity?
Oh, absolutely. But
it was all consensual.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm sure there was some pretty big names that were at those parties, maybe having some fun.
Every big name,
right?
Yeah, every big name was there. So yeah,
every big name was there.
Every big name was there, man. So so again, we wondering if things actually happened that was criminal, but people were shielded because big names were there,
right?
Or if it was just
right.
Media fluff.
That's the point I'm getting to. They didn't want to get into that because they didn't want to mention those celebrities' names?
Well, so to me, I think if they don't get into it, it's not about celebrities. It's probably more about politicians.
Politicians,
man.
Yeah.
It wasn't just celebrities
there
at these parties. It's politicians.
I'm glad I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, I think it's more about the politicians and the people of influence, the CEOs of this, and because Diddy ran deep with his associations,
Sure.
So the celebrities are gonna pull you in, for the tabloid.
He built an empire. He built an empire.
Man. When you get yourself to the point of having $1 billion, you rubbed elbows with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
$1 billion is $1 billion. Those open doors of access and association that people you can't even dream of it. You can't, if you haven't been there, you have no idea what it opens up for you.
What was the word for these parties? Freak-offs?
So the freak-offs weren't, the parties was just Diddy parties. The freak-offs was what was considered what I was involved with.
Okay.
Just him and his girlfriend and a male sex worker. Those were considered the freak-offs.
Now let me ask you something. I gotta indulge more into this. Mm-hmm. When he was watching you bang his girl, right? And he was over in the corner, he was wanking away.
Yeah, man, definitely.
And was he like? Did he have some type of costume on or anything like that? I mean.
So I know where you're getting at.
Yeah.
Right? So listen, I was involved 2.5 years, and for the first 15 months, I had no idea it was him, because he would wear. You know what the Muslim women wear, where their face is covered and you can only see their eyes?
The burqa.
A burqa. He would wear a burqa. And, I have to be honest, man. At first, I thought it was some weird fetish. Like this dude just wants to be butt naked with a mask on.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you're speaking to a real man here, and for me, it is a weird fetish. I can tell you that right now. I mean, just coming from my perspective.
Yeah, so I thought it was a weird fetish. It was the strangest thing in the world to me, man. It was giving me issues because another thing was he would situate himself over my shoulder. So he would be back in the corner and I can't even really see him, and he pacing back and forth, and I thought it was the craziest thing. But I think my common sense has gathered that the burqa was to hide his identity. Right? So
sure.
That's just a very uncomfortable, over the top way of hiding your identity.
The burqa come off?
No, man. So it did come off, but That's not how I figured out.
Was he wearing a Yankees hat?
There you go.
Was he wearing a Yankees hat?
He was wearing a Yankees hat.
A burqa and a Yankees hat. I mean, hello.
and so
he was representing NY all the way.
NY, man, NY, dude. I'm a Yankee fan, but it's a little uncomfortable in my fandom. There, I look at it different. I don't wear Yankee hats anymore. But but yeah,
you get bad dreams about Yankees hats now.
Yeah. It's definitely a flashback. But at one point, we checked into a hotel, and sometimes there were waiting times, so I would stay in a room, kind of waiting for Cassie to come get me for the activity. And this particular hotel, I cut on the TV, and it had a welcome message. So it was like the Essex House would like to welcome Sean Combs. And I was like, holy shit, that's how I found out. Because I could never really fully see his face. And I think after that encounter, because I might have left the TV on or whatever, I might have left it on there, he kind of realized, okay, this guy knows who I am. And he stopped wearing the burqa, but it was still a Yankee hat, extra low in the corner. So
he was trying to gangster it up with a burqa
on. Strange world, man. Strange world.
Yeah, I'd say it is. But yeah, I mean, this guy, there's so many rumors out there about him that, him touching men and shit like that, and, rumors and all that. And I'm glad that you clarified that.
Yeah, man. Look, I can't speak to the rumors. And then even me personally, like, I always try to just stay to my facts and speak to what I can confirm. I'm not even going to go as far as to say what Cassie says she experienced, she didn't experience, right? What I just say is, if she was in some sort of distress or some sort of coercion, she had an excellent poker face, because there was no indication.
You'd want her at the poker table.
There was no indications that anything was wrong. I'm not going to sit back and discredit anybody's experience.
Sure.
But what I will say is, if you're asking me if I witnessed it, I did not. Nothing close.
Okay. So the other thing is, these type of charges that were brought up on him, there were pimps out there that didn't even get that type of time, or they try to give that type of time to pimps in cases from the past. Am I correct?
Yeah, man. I after my testimony, I stayed clear of anything that had to do with the trial. But for some reason, I woke up on the day of his sentencing and was like, I want to know what's going on. So I'm in one of the overflow rooms, and I hear the defense kind of giving the precedents of people who did similar crimes and how much time they got. And, man, lo and behold, man, there were pimps that were pimping women for over 7 years, were abusive, were violent to them, and made money, which is a key component to the prostitution thing. And one guy made an excess of $1.4 million. Another woman made 1.8, and it wasn't their first offense. And they were getting 24 months.
24 months.
24 months, 27 months. And guys like Diddy, who was considered more of a John because he made no money off of it, and he was just involved in the activity, which is still slighted because he never physically was involved. He just watched. They were getting from 6.9 months to 12 months in a day. So me hearing that he got 50 months when there was actual pimps that got 24, I thought it was egregiously out of line.
Sure.
I couldn't really understand it, and what made
obviously
it.
They wanted the government wanted to go after him because of his
I don't
status.
think I don't think this was the government per se. This was the judge.
The judge.
Yeah, and I think the judge, based on giving him the time, which is why there's a possible appeal, the judge said something maybe 7 to 15 times that he was basing his time on coercion. But if you understand the charges, coercion is directly associated with sex trafficking. And he was acquitted of sex trafficking. So for the judge to say, because of the coercion and the acquitted testimony, right, I'm going to give you this amount of time, it's almost like you beat the charge, but you still got time for it. And just on principle, that just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the judge mustn't have liked him.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
For his freaky acts, I guess. Right?
Or there, you listen, one thing that can't be denied, there was abuse, right? There was abuse, but the abuse was separate from the sexual activity. It wasn't, I'm going to abuse you if you don't do the sexual activity. That was not proven, right? So for the judge to then say, there was abuse, and I'm just going to determine as like a 13th juror, as his defense said, I'm going to determine that your abuse was forcing her to do these sexual acts and give you years for it. It's just, well, then what's the point of the jury? What's the point?
What's the point of a jury?
What's the point of the jury saying you're acquitted?
He could have waived the jury and said, I'll just have the judge be the
Yeah. I mean, basically, that's essentially what happened. You waived the jury, and right now, his jury verdict, the only thing it did was it didn't, because the jury verdict was a minimum 15, so he did help in that scenario, and the jury verdict would have been the confiscation of assets. So the jury verdict did help that, but in terms of giving him more time than the precedence of his charge, it didn't help. I mean, listen, I don't care how many times you repeat this. 50 months for a guy transporting male escorts over state line, and 24 months for a guy who made $1.4 million on, and mind you, I forgot to point this out, he made $1.4 million and the average sexual transaction was $30. You know how many transactions you got to do to get $1.4 million?
Talk about abuse.
$30 a pop.
That's like going out to dinner and not giving the waitress a tip. I mean, right? I mean, think about that for a minute.
Yo, my man, listen.
I mean, that's greedy.
Listen, how many sexual transactions does it have to be to make $1.4 million off $30 a pop?
Yeah.
That's 400,000 sexual transactions, and that guy got 24 months.
Right.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. And so what's interesting is I think the judge gave him the extra time, and he did it actually strategically, because it seems like he gave the 50 months he gave him with the time served is kind of a lot of time, but not too much time, where an appellate court might say, let it ride, even, because it's not egregiously overstepping.
Right.
So I don't even know if the appeal will be effective.
So let me ask you, how did they get in touch with you? How did P. Diddy get in touch with you?
So listen, man, I'm going to say I just got lucky. I used to advertise on Google. Like if you typed in male stripper, male strip show in the New York City area, I had a website that would come up, getpunished.com, right? So I just my phone just rung one night, and I didn't know who it was, but it found out it was Cassie. And she just was like, hey, I'm having a birthday party. I got some friends by, and we want you to come by and do a little strip tease. So I thought I was showing up to do a little strip show. And, she opened the door in a bathrobe, pretty much nude under, and told me she had other plans. And, I wasn't saying no.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get it.
Yeah.
You get a phone call and you say, yeah, okay, I'll do a little dancing for you, whatever, at your party with your friends or whatever. I get that. It might have been a bachelorette party, right? You figured?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a birthday. Yeah, she said it was a birthday.
Bachelorette, whatever. You go in, do, and meanwhile, it was something different.
Yeah, it was something different, man. And listen, I will say it. Usually doing these strip tease and stuff, when you open the door, you don't see women like Cassie. You see a couple of Big Shirleys, a couple of Gertrudes, but not Cassie Ventura. So it was like, whoa. And so here's the kicker. Usually to do a strip tease back then,
lucky me.
Lucky me, man. And forget that. And then listen, Big Shirley's $200 for a strip tease, and now I'm getting $2,000. Right. I'm like, man, you just can't beat this.
You're getting $2,000 to punish her. Yes. Basically, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, listen, like,
That's a good job,
That was
actually.
a good deal.
If you think
Yeah.
about it, that'd be a good job, right?
That's a pretty
For
good
most
deal,
men,
bro.
right?
Most guy would pay the
Most men.
$2,000. Would pay the $2,000 for that opportunity.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wasn't complaining.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
There you go. You're an interesting man. I can tell you that.
Man, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the dude, man. That's an
I'm
extra
glad
compliment
that you clarified a lot of stuff. No, really, because it's important. And like I said, you don't want anybody being tagged for something that they didn't do. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Especially when it's stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's the gist of it. I can actively and say with a clear conscience that even with my opinions after the fact, there was no bias with my testimony. I just told the truth. I just told the truth, and the thing that I had to do was I had to tell it in a way where it was clear, because it was obvious, based on the coaching and the way the government wanted me to testify, there was a gray area trying to twist it
sure. And
into what
you
looked
held
like
your
coercion.
integrity without, saying what they wanted you to say.
Listen, I was gonna say the truth, man.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the truth, and
You weren't gonna fabricate for the government if they wanted you to.
yeah, and look, even if I'm staying right in the middle, even from, because the people involved the only people there was me, Diddy, and Cassie, and I know comfortably that Diddy heard my testimony and said the guy just said what happened, and Cassie heard my testimony, regardless of what she said her experience was, and said, well, as far as he's concerned, he just told the truth, and that's all that it should ever be.
So let me ask you something. When you went into these showings, if you will, these acts, was it the baby oil there?
Yeah, man, that's a real thing, man.
Baby oil, plenty of did you have to lather yourself in baby oil? I mean,
glistening.
He liked you glistening. He
Both
wanted
of
to
us.
see,
Both of us.
yous.
Both of- yeah,
He
it-
wanted to see both of you glistening with baby oil. And was it powder? Powder too?
No powder, no
Okay,
powder.
okay.
Just baby oil was glistening, and then there was clearly a bunch of Astroglide, baby oil and Astroglide, and obviously that was a big part of the visual fetish of his, where he wanted to see baby oil, because it wasn't just me; it was every single guy, even scenarios without Cassie, with there was always an aspect of baby oil, and I get it. There's a visual aspect to it where baby oil on your body and
sensuality.
Yeah,
Some
it's
type of
accentuates.
sensuality that he had for that.
Yeah, well, I remember coming up, they would have like hot mud wrestling. You put the
Yeah,
girls
yeah,
in
yeah.
the hot mud wrestling. So some guys get off on that. I'm not necessarily.
It's not your shtick.
Yeah, just give me a nice body, man.
Yeah.
Nice body, I'm good.
There
It
you
could be glistening, could be dry, it could be ashy. I'm gonna enjoy it. I've enjoyed
They
it
said he
either way.
bought a lot of baby oil, though. I don't know how much he bought, but
The part of it that makes me laugh. So here's something that I think people are not understanding. I think there was a belief that he was lacing the baby oil with some sort of drug that induced you. So when they confiscated these thousands of bottles of baby oil from his lace,
so I was right. He was buying a lot of baby oil.
yeah, and so
Costco must have been happy, I can tell you that.
happy as hell, right? So,
Right.
I think they literally was testing the baby oil to see if it was laced with something. And I always laugh because it was some poor guy in a lab for
How
hours.
crazy is
just-
that? I was
testing the
late. I
baby
mean,
oil.
think about that. Oh, I'm
This
gonna
one's
sit-
clear.
Exactly. Oh, let's put a little something in here. Each one, we're all set. Thousands of bottles. We're all set with laced. I mean, people are crazy. The government's crazy sometimes.
I mean, look, man, it was I told you, I think it was a reach. Somebody was trying to make a career. And think about it. And so when I understand, and we can fact check this, because, but the same person who brought the charges up on Diddy is the same person who persecuted R. Kelly.
Oh.
So you
Yeah,
take.
but there were two different cases.
No, listen.
Much bigger.
Yeah, but the names.
Right, but names, yes.
The names.
Okay, got
The
it.
names.
Yeah.
Right? The names.
I'm the guy who took down R. Kelly. I'm the guy, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
get
if you think about it, R. Kelly was getting his accusations from as far back as late 90s, early
Sure, yeah.
2000s,
Yep.
and he had never been fully prosecuted. So
Right.
now I'm the guy who took him down. And there's been these rumors of Diddy and his thing. So now I'm going to be the guy to take him down. And to me, it was somebody trying to make a career.
Right.
Career with high profile people on their resume.
Sure.
And, you know, and look, it's probably a make a career thing, because even though she didn't start the case, but the prosecutor who lost the case got fired.
Right.
Right. And they're trying to say that had nothing to do with it. But it's been, what did they spend on that case? $20 million?
Yeah.
$20 million to prosecute a guy off of.
$20 million. Let me ask you this. Did P. Diddy have oil all over himself too?
Nah.
No? He just
he
you
wasn't
guys.
involved. Yeah,
All
just
right,
us guys.
all right.
Yeah, we were the live.
I was thinking about that. I'm going, man, if he liked oil that much, was he oiled up too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah, I didn't see any oil action on him.
And you weren't trying to find out if he had any
man,
oil
I was
on
this way,
anyway.
bro. It was just like the urinal. Keep eyes forward, man. I would
Exactly.
see nothing, no peripherals, man.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. It's just, you know, I mean, to each his own, you know, as they say, but to go to that extent to please your satisfy yourself and your cravings, if you will. I mean, he spent some money doing that. Am I right?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I always joke around because I was getting $2,000 a pop, which I thought was a lot of money, but the other guys that were testifying were getting $5,000, $6,000 a pop. So I was walking around like that, man.
Well,
I
let
was
me
the budget guy.
just say this: were they paying by the inch?
Well, listen, if they was, my pride is hurt. Yeah. Let's not. I don't want to think of it that way. Yeah. That you just hit me below. You caught me
brother.
here, bro. I'm like,
Sorry, brother.
Yeah, I guess like I always say, man, if the guys were getting that much, I was clearly the Walmart edition, you know, the Five Below guy. You know, I was the budget guy.
You wish you knew that they were getting that money, though. How much they were getting?
Man, listen,
You would
I
up
wish
your
I
ante
knew,
for sure.
man. What, dude? $5 grand, $6 grand, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To you know, satisfy some guy that wants to watch his girl get punished by the Punisher. The Punisher. When I heard the name when it was in trial, I'm like, the Punisher. Man, this guy, he must be something. He must be something special if they calling him the Punisher. You know, seriously.
Yeah. Well, like I said, a pretty cool nickname to me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Maybe I should have fabricated how I got it. Well, you know, I put it down. Nah, I had a nice jump shot, man.
There you go. I know. I heard you say that. No, it's about my basketball skills on the court.
Yeah. That's
There
how
you
I
go.
got the name, man. That's how I got the name. Wish it was a better story, but I can't. I don't got one for you.
All right, brother. I just got to say, it's been a real pleasure. You know, is there anything else that you think we should touch upon in the story? And did we touch upon most of it?
Yeah, man. I think, you know, the gist of that scenario and the government trying to manipulate the testimony was the gist that we really need to get out there, because
Sure.
There's a great deal of intimidation, right? So that's where that's the thing that I would say. Going into testifying for the federal government in the Southern District of New York, there's a lot of intimidation with that, man. And it will put you in a space of, you know, when they're coaching you and trying to dictate how they want your testimony to go, you have to really, really push through that, man.
So
because
do you feel that it's almost like an abuse of power by the government?
I do, man, because they tell you, in my case, right, I was told so little, and there was never a clear direction of what they wanted to capture. You know, think about it. I'm testifying in this high-profile case, and I don't know what part of my testimony is the value, what part of my testimony is even relevant, and you're interviewing me for hours and hours and hours, and then you want to put everything that I have to say in this little bubble of detail, and that is manipulative. That's a manipulation of the, because I'm not up there for my whole story. I'm up there for the part of my story that works. And I would just say to people in that situation, when you notice that if you really want to do the right thing from an integrity space, you can't allow yourself to be boxed in that bubble, because it's people's lives on the burner. And on this case, that man's life was on a burner. And I'm at peace knowing that I pushed back to give the whole story and not letting my experience be put in a bubble that could be twisted to give you a different narrative.
Your government's good at that, though. Yeah. I know from firsthand, and throughout the years of many people being, in the mob world where I came from, and how they manipulated a lot of testimony, if you will, and they did a lot of shady stuff to get the conviction, just to get the conviction. Yeah. You might say, well, mobsters lie, or gangsters lie, or drug dealers lie, or anybody who commits a crime lies. They're liars, they're liars. Well, guess what? The government's pretty good at it, too.
Yeah, man. And in a case, especially like this one, because it's her word.
And you would think that the government, would want to be have more integrity and more moral than a gangster, right?
Absolutely, man. I was really kind of shocked to see the level of pointed manipulation in regards to testimony just to convict something. Like if I'm blatantly telling you I never seen any force or her in distress, that's what I'm telling you. But I'm still gonna go on the stand to create.
Let's touch upon that. Let me ask you this: was she enjoying herself?
As far as I was concerned, man, I thought this was a consensual place of enjoyment for her that she was taking part in. I do know some of the motivation was his fetish, but nothing even close to something I don't want to do or that's against my will. Right?
I mean, not for nothing. I don't think she would have done this if she wasn't getting some type of pleasure out of it, right?
Well, so listen, I mean, from what it appeared was she chose the guys. He told her, find a guy, right? She chose a guy. I know prior to me being involved, I had to send photos. And one of the first things that I made clear with the government, and I even got to say it on the stand because his defense attorney was good. After my first encounter, just me and her, right? Him not around or whatever. She says, I want to call you back because I'm comfortable with you. If those are words, right? So she has a say, right? She has a say, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying. It was all consensual.
Yeah.
If it's consensual, this shouldn't be a crime.
Yeah, but again, so this is what I'm telling you. This is what I told the government. She said, I'm comfortable with you. I never saw any signs of anything. I never seen any coercion. All I saw was some brief frustration that did not seem like anything. And somehow with those details, there was still an attempt for my testimony to prove force, fraud, or coercion.
So let's stay on the subject. So she seemed a little irritated when he wanted something different, right?
It wasn't even different, man.
Changed up or something, because she sighed a little bit. You said,
yeah, but in that frustration wasn't to our physical activity. That frustration was we were in a dark room.
Right.
So the room was lit by candles, and he's across the room. So he's trying to see. So there were certain ways.
Oh, so he couldn't see the visual that
he couldn't see the visual.
So he wanted you guys to move to where he could see the visual.
Yeah, either
with
us
with the candles.
With the candles, move the candles so he could get different light, and that's where I seen frustration from the adjustment of the candles or the adjustment of us.
Because she was probably being pleasured, and she's like, Are you fucking bothering me right now while I'm being pleasured?
Well, that's what you would assume, right?
Right.
If you're in the middle of sexual activity and there's instruction that interrupts that,
Yeah.
you can get frustrated, right? So
Right.
that's what I told them I witnessed, but that was trying to be shifted to force, fraud, or coercion, which just wasn't.
So give me a layout of what he would how he would set up the scene for you guys.
So it was always a couch with a chair adjacent. So let's say a chair like this, and let's say that table would be a couch. And she would be on the couch, I would be here. She would oil herself, I would oil myself, then we'll oil each other, and then we'll end up on the couch doing some sort of sexual activity. And it literally started that way every single time. And he would be literally maybe 10 to 12 feet away, back far from us, kind of like table, chair, watching from afar. And never, in my case, he never got any closer than that. And just kind of his directions was all based on his
Most of
perception.
this, where would most of this take place?
Always in hotels around the New York
Trump
City
International,
area.
if I'm not
Trump,
mistaken.
Essex House, the
Essex
London
House,
Hotel,
the London Hotel,
the Gramercy Hotel.
The Gramercy Hotel.
And there was one other hotel on the street of the Essex House. I believe the St. Regis was the place I was, but I don't quote me on that.
That's why every time I go into a hotel, I don't care where it is, I make sure they fumigate that thing before I get in there.
Yeah, man.
I'll
be
tell you
careful,
that.
Be careful with them.
And make sure you get new blankets and shit. You know what I mean?
man, yeah,
You might change the sheets or something like that, but make sure you do the comforter and everything else with it.
Yeah, man. You come in with a black light, you might you don't know. Yeah,
Exactly.
A little residue in there.
Yeah,
man,
exactly. But yeah, that's yeah, I mean that gets expensive doing that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
But he'd have it all set up in a room like and obviously a suite. He'd get a suite.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. Some of the most incredible, amazing suites I've ever seen. One of the suites specifically, in the London Hotel. I didn't even know something like this exists. This suite was huge, man. And I always say the suite was multiple levels, and coming from the top floor to the bottom, there was a staircase that I can only describe it like if you saw the movie Titanic. And in Titanic, they had this ballroom with this crazy winding staircase. This was in the suite. And I remember being so like holy crap about the suite when I got out. I Googled it.
Was it 20 grand a night?
30.
30 grand a night.
30
So that wasn't
grand
too
a
far
night.
off.
30 grand a night.
30 grand a night.
30 grand a night.
Well, he could afford that.
Yeah, and I got $2 grand a woman.
Yeah. You should up that ante.
Yeah.
You should up that ante at the time.
Yeah. I missed out. I didn't know any better, man. Well, I went there for $200, right? So when I get in 2,000, I'm thinking I'm winning. That's 10 times over, right? But yeah, 30 grand a night, man. So it was some like really, it's a wow factor with everything involved in it, man. This is a big deal.
Let me ask you something. So the couches and the chairs and these suites, were they like covered with anything? Cause
Yeah. So that was a big part of it. When coming in, everything was covered in sheets.
Everything was covered in sheets.
Yeah, all the furniture, the floor and the door. So, and it was testified in the trial that there was some hotel rooms that were getting like, the furniture and stuff was getting like destroyed from baby oil. So, and he would flip the bill for that. So I guess at some point they started trying to protect the furniture by
so they didn't
covering
have
it in
to pay the
sheets.
bill.
Yeah.
For new furniture.
New furniture. Yep. So everything was covered in sheets to try to, keep the mess to a minimum.
All right. So he had it all figured out eventually.
I mean, this thing went on for years, man.
For years.
For years.
And I can't believe these parties that he used to have with all the, and where was it? Hollywood and shit like that.
Well, listen, it was a long period of time where going to a quote unquote Diddy party was a big deal. But I think this aspect of his, I'm sure there was a room where people did more than just party. But none of that was a part of the case, man. So why we'll never know, right? But they were never mentioned in his in any part of the trial.
How strange is that? No, seriously, how strange do you find that they wouldn't even mention, they wouldn't even bring any type of evidence or mention anything like that?
So look, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can look at it, right? But think about the crux of their case, right? They were trying to say there was a forced aspect of the sexual activity. That's the only way you get a crime, right? So even if there was a whole bunch of sexual stuff going on at these parties, there probably was no way that they could create a case and give him some sort of responsibility of any type of forced activity. You know, you got a bunch of people there drinking.
All consensual.
Yeah, all consensual. And they probably...
And adults.
And adults. So they probably fine, comb...
No children and nothing like that,
no
underage
children, no
kids
nothing.
or anything
Nothing,
like that.
Nothing. So they probably fine, tooth comb through those aspects and just realize that even though these elaborate, crazy parties was going on, there was a scenario where they can find him responsible of force, fraud, or coercion in any of the sexual activities. So they had to leave it alone.
When they went in with warrants and everything to his home, they took out videotapes, right?
Yeah.
And tapes, because he taped a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, and listen, I think that's the smartest thing he ever did.
To protect himself.
Because think about it, right? And so you were somebody watching from afar, right? So when you're listening and you hear Cassie's testimony, and she's saying, I was forced to do this, I was influenced by drugs, and oh my God, he hired this guy named the Punisher. You're going, oh my God, like the Punisher? Like people are gonna hear those details, and just the visual of what she went through is gonna be something that's gonna be like, oh my God, what was this woman subjected to? But him recording everything and then showing the footage to the jury. And I heard one of the jurors speak on CNN, and they said it was just normal, regular sex. It didn't look anything forceful. She looked okay. The guy looked fine. He was watching from the corner. If he doesn't have that to show, right, then who knows what the imprint, the visual,
right,
the jury has.
Well, that was,
and they could have thought
he safeguarded himself.
He
safeguarded himself.
Yeah, he safeguarded himself.
I would have liked to seen some of those films and just to see who was on it. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, let's get that straight.
Yeah.
Just to see who was there, the names that were there, the celebrities that were there, the politicians that might have been there, right?
Yeah, but him having the footage showing that consensual, that he wasn't someone that was driving it in a forceful way or whatever, I think that also helped with his convictions, because even though her testimony said I was in a mind state of where I was forced, you had video that did not show force, and then you had testimony that said I didn't see any force. Right. So I think that was a big help to himself. And you know, I learned years ago, there was in New York City, there was a place called a Spy Store, and they had all of these.
Oh, I was on Avenues of America?
Close.
It was right near there. I know because I used to get down there to New York, and I used to get that spyware, like, you know, for what, you know, bugging devices. And stuff like that. Yeah, listening devices, you know.
There you
I
go.
know.
You know. Yeah. So I remember being in the Spy Store, and I remember the guy showing me like a regular hotel clock radio, and he was like, and it was a camera. And so he said, what celebrities should do is you go to a hotel, you take out their clock radio, you put it in the drawer, and you plug that in. And now if a woman comes by or there's activity, everything's recorded. And I remember him saying, if Mike Tyson or Tupac Shakur at the time had this, they would be free men because they had to deal with sexual allegations.
Well, look at what happened with Mike Tyson.
He
went away for rape, right?
There you go. And if he had everything recorded,
then he could, and it doesn't show anything like that, then he's off the hook.
Yeah, so clearly Diddy learned something because he recorded everything.
Yeah, Diddy's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy,
He's
man.
a smart guy. He built an empire and then some.
Yeah, and I would say any guy with assets or something to lose, if you're dealing in these one-on-one scenarios with women in this culture, you should record everything, man. I think you should record everything, whether it's consensual or not. I'd rather deal with somebody making an accusation of me and me having footage to prove it. I'd rather deal with the unconsented video recording than trying to prove I didn't sexually assault or rape somebody.
I don't think there's a law where you cannot record something, like, record, but maybe there's, I don't know it fully, but on the other hand, it's a different story if you have audio with it. See, if you get just the video part.
That's interesting.
Yes, the video part, hey, listen, I just have it in there because it's a security in the room.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have it in in the bathroom or something like that, or
the bathroom stuff, yeah.
Right.
But I will record everything. Like, look, listen, I might be giving my own thing up, but this Apple Watch right here, it has something called voice record. And I may be messing around with a girl with this thing recording the whole thing, and I'm getting consent the whole time. You like that? You having a good time? Because
unfortunately, this is the world we live in.
It's the world we live in.
And as bad as things like that are against you, sometimes they're really helpful in protecting you.
Look, I really, really firmly believe that if Diddy did not have video recordings where he can show a jury the dynamic, the energetic dynamic, I could have worked big time against him.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. You were a part of one of the biggest cases in history so far, right? In a long time, with P. Diddy, and you were the main witness that they thought, oh, I'm going to use this guy, and the Punisher's going to put him away with his story. We can make him say what we want. Well, guess what? It didn't work. And thank God you did tell the truth, because it helped him. It helped him not get the big time.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's integrity. That's integrity in itself,
Listen, man.
And let me just say one thing. Today's society, we're losing a lot of integrity in today's society. Everybody just wants to shit on everybody. Shit on everybody for whatever reason. Nobody wants to have any guts anymore.
Agreed.
Whether you're a man or you're a woman, show some guts. Show some moral guts. That you're not just going to say anything against somebody because you can, or you're pissed off at them. Oh, yeah, I'm pissed off at him, so I'm going to say that he's a rapist. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, the lines are crossed.
The lines are,
the worst way, man.
Exactly. Today's society is crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm telling you, it is. We've lost a lot in today's society.
Yeah, different world, man.
It's a different world. You're right.
Yeah.
But let me ask you something. If you had some advice to give people, what advice would that be for living life?
So look, man, there's a gray area. I do believe that we all inside, right? When I do something good, there's a feeling of validation that I get. And when I do something that's out of line, you know. And, there's a saying of stick with your gut or whatever, but there's a moral compass in all of us, right? And if you do your best to walk that line of your moral compass, don't overshoot things that you know in your spirit. It's just the wrong thing. And I believe if you walk that line consistently, you'll live the right way. And just be real with yourself, man. When you do it. There's a certain times you're gonna make decisions that you know are wrong, but acknowledge that, right? Don't validate wrong decisions. Don't validate lack of integrity. Even if that's your choice, know what you're doing and know how to get back to what's the right way of living. And if you do that on a regular basis, you should be a good human, man. Be unapologetically real with yourself.
Stay on a good track. Stay true to yourself. Try to be the best person you can be. And if you do fall off, and, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect.
But own it.
Own it.
Own it,
man.
Own
exactly.
It.
Own it.
Own it, man.
Own your mistakes.
Own it.
And that's a person of integrity.
Yeah. If you can't own it, then the lines are blurred. You don't know. how do you know? Gotta own it, man, especially as men.
Yeah.
Accountability is everything, man.
Exactly.
A man without accountability is just nothing.
Well, you've proven that, so I could say that, sir.
Thank you, man.
And I thank you.
appreciate it.
I thank you very much for coming on. It's a great story, and I hope that that your life gets better for you too.
Thank you, man. That's what I'm hoping for, man. All this, in the middle of this chaos, I got to spin it into something beneficial. But either way, man, I'm at peace with it.
But you had some fun, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm not complaining. Not complaining.
Hey, brother, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man.